Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. You know, sometimes when people make a game of something serious, they can actually win and force reasonable people to now have to beat them at their own game just to get back to the world of sanity. So tonight, I will say something that you have never heard me say, but it has to be said because the hypocrisy countenanced as silence is deafening. So I hope we all agree on this. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. No scarf, though, because I don't support savages. But tell me, why are all the privileged no longer appropriating the oppression of these people in Gaza? You see what's being done to them? Did the internet go out where they all are? Why are your clever cyber warriors bitching about Israel and its inadequate concessions and yet silent about what Hamas just did to try to kill the deal? Why aren't they protesting the people who just announced they will kill all Gazans who do not comply? Do you remember Israel saying that? I don't. And they're not just saying it, they're doing it. Hamas is killing people in Gaza with impunity and putting it all over the internet. Say it with me. Free Palestine from these terrorist savages. How are we not all saying that? Is it really just about the Jews for you fools? Can't two things be true? That the situation with Israel had to change and the bloodthirsty caveman terrorists can't run free? But then why the silence? My answer? Because these social media scions are posers. Imagine if Israel said this: we declare a general mobilization, that means all their forces, in response to the call of national and religious duty to cleanse Gaza of outlaws and collaborators, they then say Hamas, with Israel. By duty and cleanse, they mean this, and I'm not blurring it, I'm not sparing you anything. This is what they're doing, okay? I wish we had made it wider, and I want to keep it there. It's not AI, it's not even denied by Hamas. They are killing all but their own. Isn't that a genocide? Probably not, but you might as well say it is. It's pretty bad, but no. I say it. Free Palestine from this occupation and oppression. Hamas stole aid for years to build tunnels, build their own military, killed their own people, brutalized women, brutalized minorities. You want to blame Israel for all these things? Things I don't even think they did. But Hamas now does it all with your silence and complicity. There are even calls to blame the violence that's happening on your screen there. Last time I checked, don't see a lot of Mossad agents wearing green headbands in Gaza. But it's their fault. Why? Because Israel helped arm a militia group in Rafah that opposes Hamas? But no condemnation for these savages. This is why I come at you. This is why I say you are not real ones. I don't care how many clicks, how many followers, how much monetization it gets you. You are anti-Semites for sport and rage bait. I say you have the freedom to do it, but you are wasting your freedom. Free Palestine from Hamas. Why aren't these people saying it if they're humanitarians who care about the people? You only care when it's Israel. Hamas puts out a warning. Any who survive this must surrender by next week, and if they don't, they will face strict punishment. More strict than this? What do you think happens if they surrender? Where are your complaints? You complain the deal doesn't demand enough from Israel, but they release hundreds of dirtbags, withdraw, right? Even though their enemy is still their enemy. What does Hamas do? Starts killing Gazans, and then what does it do? Oh, it holds on to the hostages' dead bodies. Oh, and then what does it do? Puts out a statement, we refuse to disarm. Free Palestine! Free them from this. How embarrassing that these supposed pro-Palestinian humanitarians sit silent and actually need President Trump to say what they won't.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes, you say
because
quickly.
everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it?
Hold on, Big D. Hold on. Now, I'm with you, doing that Free Palestine vibe to say they better disarm or else, but it can't be us. And I don't want to hear about Israel doing it. Israel's out. They should build a big-ass wall, bigger than anything Trump ever dreamed of, between them and Palestine, just like Egypt did. You know, they're brothers in Islam. Only do what works for you, Israel. And America should do that too. It is up to the Arab world to finally finance their brothers. I do not think America should ever put boots where terrorists are allowed to run free until they come for us. And that's coming. So throw on your Hamas headscarf, hit the streets, free Palestine from the people who've been oppressing them the whole time. Hey, it even rhymes. Pretty good, right? Free Palestine from the savages who've been oppressing them the whole time. Get that going as a meme. People, especially in America, especially here, you better get on the same page of who the enemy is. And guess what? Not the Jews, okay? Not Israel, unless you are an extreme Islamist. Then you're right, they are your enemy, and you're mine as well. My enemy is extremism and fundamentalism, and I'm seeing it take root here in America more every day. My enemy is the magnified minorities in the two parties, the globalized, the intifada crowd, the people claiming Hamas are freedom fighters. That is the enemy. And people who are ignoring what Hamas is doing right now to their own people are hypocrites of the worst kind. So let us discuss what is happening on both sides of the line and what has to happen next and what may not happen. All right? Moshe Lavi, you've seen him on this show, so eloquent, so poignant. His brother-in-law was released yesterday. He is alive and well despite 2 years of savages holding him captive. And I want to bring in former IDF spokesperson Jonathan Conricus to see if I'm right that Israel takes a pass on whatever it takes to control Hamas and help the Gazans. Moshe, thank you so much. What can you tell us about the reunion?
Thank you so much for having me. So much has changed since we last spoke on Friday, I believe. I'm here in Ichilov Hospital in Tel Aviv. Omri is a few rooms away from me. And that's the happiest sentence I can say after 2 long years. The reunion yesterday was the happiest day in our life, of our family's life. Seeing him embracing Lishai, playing with the girls, hugging his father, Danny. It's hard to describe in words, really, what we feel inside. I'm just so glad that President Trump was able to bring about this framework to prioritize the hostages, putting them first, so that we as families will have this happy moment, and we as Israelis will recognize again the social ethos that guided us in our military service, in our society for so many decades, and will keep guiding us forward.
Moshe, I want people to understand something. The video we're watching right now, he's been gone for 2 years, your brother-in-law. His kids are 4.5 and 2.5, which means, you know, he really has been away almost their whole lives, you know, their functional lives, half for the older one, but the younger one, what was that like for them to realize this is daddy?
Ever since my sister and I returned from Washington, D.C. on Friday morning, we as a family began preparing the girls to the reunion. We cautiously told them that we had such successful meetings in the US. We even spoke with the president, and they understood that something is different. And the night before, after we told them gradually that Daddy might be coming home, with the help of professionals, we told them we need to pack bags for Daddy Omri because he's coming back tomorrow. And that's what we did. And when they met him after 2 long years, it was as if they always had him. They recognized him immediately. And while they were a bit shy at first, they played with him, they spoke with him. And the day after, it seems like they were never separated. And for Omri, we prepared a special video so that Lishai could show him how the girl developed and grew over the past 2 years before he meets them. We put the most special moments in the past 2 years, how they, Alma crawled for the first time, walked for the first time, spoke for the first time, celebrating birthdays together, being in the beach, things that he would have loved to see in his own eyes, but he couldn't because, as you said, Hamas held him captive.
Well, it was stolen from him, and it was stolen from them. And of course, that is part of the pain. It warms your heart to see these scenes, but it should also boil your blood. And that's where, Mr. Conricus, you come in. There are people who will hear what we're talking about right now and say, please, after what happened in Gaza and all the suffering there, but they're not saying anything right now about what Hamas is doing. And what do you anticipate the situation will be like in Gaza, despite President Trump's words that we will disarm you if you don't disarm?
Yes. Well, shalom, Chris. Great to be on. It's been quite a while. And shalom to Moshe, finally under happy circumstances. Well, the situation is a bit more complex, I fear, than what the president said. And I don't want to anger anybody, but I don't think that Hamas is inclined to disarm. If you look at how Hamas is operating, beyond what you showed and spoke about so succinctly, but if you look at how they're operating, what they're saying, how they're deploying on the ground, that is not an organization that is preparing for a succession. That is not an organization that is saying, okay, you know what, we're going to do the right thing here. We're going to hand over control because we failed you guys. We failed you Palestinians. We brought death and destruction in our failed attack on Israel. And you've been suffering 2 years as a consequence. That is not what Hamas is saying. They're saying we're here to stay. We are the resistance, Mukawama. And there's going to be Palestinian rule. And we're not going to hand over our weapons. They've said it clearly in English. They've said it multiple times in Arabic as well. And so far, we're kind of in a gray zone. Hamas has also violated the agreement, fundamentally violated it, by not returning the remains of the murdered Israeli hostages. Now, as we're speaking, there's reports that 4 additional bodies have been transferred to the Red Cross, and they're on their way to Israeli hands inside the Gaza Strip still, and that'll make it a total of 8, if indeed 4 were transferred, 8 of the 28 bodies of murdered Israelis that still need to be delivered. And as per the President Trump agreement, that was supposed to happen as well within 72 hours. So they're in violation here. And now is a dilemma for Israel, how to respond, how harshly to respond, how firm or how soft. And obviously, the way that Israel will respond now will set the stage for the future.
Mr. Conricus, thank you. Moshe, as you figure out how to help your brother-in-law and how to support him, you know you have allies in us. I'm not asking for an interview. I have to be honest, something no media person will probably tell you. I don't advise any media exposure for your brother-in-law for any time soon. Let him heal. Let him heal out of the public spotlight. Do not let him be used or abused. He may be inclined to put himself out there in a way that he is not ready for, and it may hurt him after it's over. But if you can help, if you need help with anything that may help him with that, we're here. And I wish your family all blessings from here forward. And Mr. Conricus, you know how to get me whenever you want me. We will continue this conversation. Thank you both, brothers.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, Chris.
Now, I want to bring in my friend who has been fighting the good fight. She is a real one. I do not care if you agree with her assessments or her politics. Arwa Damon is one of the best journalists I've ever worked with, okay, when I was at CNN. She runs a group called INARA, all right? INARA. I'll put up on the screen how you can help her organization, okay? She has been on the ground in Gaza. They have been there helping the children and people who have been hurt by this war and are innocent, okay? And delivering aid now is going to be everything. So it is time to donate again. And when I hear what she needs, I am going to donate again, and I'm going to tell you about it, and I hope you do the same. Arwa, what is the urgency of need, and how can people help be part of a positive change?
Thank you, Chris. You know, we get asked that all the time, what is needed the most? And it's an impossible question to answer because what you need is everything. And so if we just look at the bare basics, the bare minimum, we've all seen those images of Gaza where, you know, buildings are not standing anymore. Everything has pretty much been turned to dust. And we need to think about what it actually takes to sustain life in those conditions. And so first and foremost, the priority does still remain food and the sorts of nutrients that are needed to begin to reverse the impact of the famine and of the starvation. And then we need medical supplies. We need shelter. We need basic things like soap and hygiene kits so that communicable diseases are no longer spreading so quickly. We need whatever it is that it's going to take to start to get water deliveries going, to get sewage lines repaired. We need incubators for hospitals. We need diggers. We need to be able to clear roads and clear rubble. I mean, just think about what it would take to sustain life in the middle of a landscape that looks like the aftermath of the apocalypse.
But I also have to believe that logistically, if I were like in the incubator business and I wanted to send you 500, it would be a nightmare, and probably only a fraction of them would ever get to you. So is the best thing that people can do give money right now to what I have up on the screen, inara.org, INARA.org.
I mean, look, I'm never going to say no to, you know, a push for donations towards us because, yes, absolutely, we always do need money. The big challenge, obviously, that we're facing right now is actually still getting trucks into Gaza. They're nowhere near the levels that they need to be, nowhere near the levels that was agreed to underneath, you know, phase one of the ceasefire agreement. But what we also actually need people to do is to continue to put pressure to ensure that the Trump administration doesn't lose interest in what's happening and that all of these phases are actually able to play out in a way that is going to basically end this horrific cycle of violence and end this extraordinarily indescribable catastrophe that the population there finds themselves in. Look, things very much go hand in hand, Chris, right? Like whether or not we're able to access humanitarian aid, whether or not there's pressure on relevant parties to allow the aid through, to allow us to actually do our job, it goes hand in hand with the level of media attention that's on it. And I also know that you and I have talked about this a lot, but the media needs to be let into Gaza to be able to see what's happening on the ground, but also to play the role that it is meant to be playing, and that is to hold whatever party it is to account.
You are 100% right. I have said it before. I will say it again. It's not part of the deal structure right now, but, you know, Egypt too. And to the extent that the IDF is going to have any access control, they have to let the media in. We are in a period of peace. I want to go. I want to go with Arwa. I want to go on the ground and want to see what she tells me I need to see, because there's no one I trust more. Arwa, I will give you 1 minute to close, and I want to put it up on the screen how you help her organization. Go ahead.
You know, just one thing on that, Chris, though, it might be hard for you to go with me because I was denied entry by Israel for no reason given back in February and March 5 times in a row. And there's been a 50% increase in denials of people trying to go in on humanitarian missions. That being said, I do hope that you are allowed access. And I do have an appeal in Israeli court right now trying to reverse that denial.
What kind of reporter are you? You should have led with that. You're losing your touch, Damon. You're becoming a humanitarian. You're forgetting how to be a cold-blooded killer as a journalist. I'm going to try to get us access. I'm going to keep this fight going. I'm going to try to do it through our State Department also, as they follow up on how this deal gets executed and what the roles are. Got to have media in there. That time is long past due. Inara.org. I'm sending 10 grand from the Chris Cuomo Project, money that I raise there, independent of NewsNation. I'm sending it to her on behalf of my audience to help somebody who is fighting the good fight. Arwa Damon, I love you. I love what you're about. Please stay safe, and I hope to join you there so that we can show people the reality, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, Arwa Damon, inara.org, okay? Why are you raising money there? 4 minutes and 35 seconds going into the break? Because if you care, then you care. You don't care when it's convenient. You don't care when it suits your followers. You want to help, help. I can help, so I will, and thank you for giving me that ability. It's been 2 weeks since the government shutdown. We're actually going to be in D.C. tomorrow with congressmen and senators from both sides. This town hall with only one side, that's BS. That's creating tension, all right? We are here to create conversation, all right? Got Senator Fetterman, who's going to be at the town hall tomorrow. He wants to get involved because he knows what this is about, all right? Speaker Johnson today said he's got no strategy to end the shutdown. You know why? Because he thinks the shutdown is working better for him than ending it. Players from both teams next. The government shutdown's entering its third week, and I know there are people online saying, we've never seen anything like that. Shut up. They think you're stupid. We had 30-something days in the first Trump administration. Here's the concern, is that this time, both sides seem to think the shutdown is working for them. Listen to the Speaker of the House.
It's a great question. Manu asks, why don't I change my strategy? I don't have any strategy, Manu. I'm doing the right thing, the clearly obvious thing, the traditional thing. All I am able to do is come to this microphone every day, look right into the camera, and plead with the American people, as Chairwoman McClain said, to call your Senate Democrats and ask them to do the right thing. We're not playing games. They're playing a game. We're not.
The righteous man who refuses to do what he knows is right is guilty of sin. James 4:17. He knows he's playing games. He knows he is. He knows he doesn't want to deal with anything till the big man tells him to, and will he? Joining me now, Trump's former acting White House chief of staff during the last shutdown, Mick Mulvaney, and member of Congress, California, Democrat, Omri Bera. It's good to have you both.
Thanks. Good to be on. Thanks, Chris.
Mick, I mean, what's he playing at, this guy? You know, Ami's going to talk to us about the status of this. They're not really talking because they think they're profiting from this.
Well, there's a little bit of that, Chris, but there's also a lot of tradition here. You're right. This is not the first shutdown. I think we had one in 2013. I think Ami had just gotten to Congress. I had been there for a couple of years. And the Republicans forced the shutdown because we wanted to have a discussion about Obamacare. Nobody negotiated with us at that point. In 2019, for 35 days, Donald Trump and I tried to get more money out of Congress for border security. Nobody negotiated with us. Look, the people who try to use this as leverage are the people who usually give in at the end. It's the clean CR that always wins, and that's what Michael Johnson is defending in this particular circumstance.
Yeah, but isn't that part of the BS, Mick, that you guys all pose in the shutdown, that this is the only chance of leverage to do what has to be done or the American people are going to get hurt, and then you're just playing with it? Shouldn't they come back and pass a rule that you can never shut down again, that there's an automatic CR?
Yeah, we talked about doing that. I think Senator James Lankford has done that since every year since 2011. It just doesn't have any interest in no one's got any interest in voting for it. Look, both sides like a shutdown because it gives the minority a little bit of leverage every now and then. It doesn't ever work, but you do try it. Look, I don't feel like we lost the shutdown in 2019 because we gave in. In fact, I think we won because we sent the very clear message of where we were on immigration. I think the Democrats, to their credit, could give in now and claim victory by saying they made health care a big issue. So I don't think it's just about giving in or winning or losing. It's about driving that message.
Look, my problem, Ami, is with his pronoun. We do lose. We, the people, lose. You know, you guys don't lose in terms of the horse trading, although you didn't get the funding for the wall that time around, but maybe it was a rhetorical win. And I think the Democrats are on high ground right now in terms of dealing with the ACA. And I've told you this before, and I'll offer it to you again, Doc. You tell me how you feel about it, Ami. But I think you guys should give the Republicans the reimbursement issue for emergency medical care for unlawful or undocumented immigrants. Give it to them. Say, what do you want to reimburse the states for? What do you want the percentage to be? Here, it's on you. Take it. We care about the people on Medicaid and the ACA and dealing with those subsidies. You don't want to pay them? You don't want to pay them back? Here, take it. You do what you think is right. Give it to them. Let them be seen for what they are and what they're not, and fight the Medicaid fight.
So, Chris, I agree with you, and I agree with most of what Mick said. Nobody actually wins a shutdown. It's the American people that end up losing, and there's a lot of back and forth that takes place. Look, the contours of getting a deal are here. We know that the ACA subsidies are going to impact a lot of Americans. If that means we're going to cap those payments and make sure that folks that are making $250,000, I don't think there's a lot of them that get those subsidies, but great, let's cap those payments. I'd agree with that. If we want to write into the legislation, these funds cannot be used for any undocumented individuals. They can't anyways, but if we want to write that in there, great, let's write that in there. Maybe we can agree to terms and principle without actually having that actual piece of legislation. Open up the government, negotiate on those ACAs. And if they don't negotiate in good faith and they're not willing to come to the table to keep healthcare costs down for most working Americans, November 21st is right around the corner and there'll be another shutdown and we'll say, okay, we tried and you just didn't come to the table and work with us. That's what I would do.
Right before Thanksgiving. Do you think your leadership is feeling the Bera compromise there, or do you think that they're getting the message that you look strong, you look defiant, finally, somebody's taking it to Trump and his cronies, stick with it?
I mean, I think there's folks in our base that want to fight, and there's folks on the far right within the MAGA base that want to fight, and not compromise. I don't think that's what the majority of the American people are. And again, I'm with you, Chris, that if we actually said, okay, we'll open up the government, we're willing to negotiate on the subsidies and keep healthcare costs down, we're willing to accept some of what you said in terms of capping who's eligible for the subsidies, writing into the legislation the undocumented cannot, access these subsidies. And then let's negotiate. But if you don't come to the table in a fair way by November 21st, be right back where we were.
Man, I hope your star keeps rising. I got to jump on me, but I really do. Man, you're a fair broker. You have your disagreements, but you know how to disagree with decency, and you're clearly there to serve your constituents. I just wish you didn't have to belong to a party. You know what I mean? Because, man, these parties suck. They suck, Congressman. No disrespect to you. Thank you for being with me, as always. Mick, you don't suck. You're the best. Thank you for being with me. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. President Obama has put himself kind of back in the center of the game. And it raised a question for me. All right, the president put out an ad backing Gavin Newsom's redistricting plan in California, which is, of course, retaliatory to what the Republicans are doing in Texas. I get the political play. I just hate the reality. I hate that they get to control the districts. But does he matter anymore, Obama? Does he matter to the Democrats? I want to ask one of the biggest Democratic donors and really one of the most successful men in the country, John Morgan. Google him next.
California, the whole nation is counting on you. Democracy is on the ballot November 4th. Republicans want to steal enough seats in Congress to rig the next election and wield unchecked power for 2 more years. With Prop 50, you can stop Republicans in their tracks.
I agree with the message. Gerrymandering is a complete fiasco. It should obviously be an independent panel, okay? But we are where we are. The question is this the right messenger? Former President Obama, is that who California needs to get this done? I want to bring in somebody who understands politics so well as our reality, okay? John Morgan has raised a lot of money for politicians, all right? He owns the biggest law firm in the world. He also has ownership of my heart because he's such a fair broker and so damn entertaining. John, good to see you, big brother.
It's good to see you.
If Obama says it, does that carry the weight it needs to?
Here's what I want to tell you, fresh off the presses. He's the only person that can say it, and here's why. I talked to somebody yesterday who is very much in the know about this ad, about everything about this ad. They told me that Obama is the only person whose negatives are not underwater in the Democratic Party. Now, we know it can't be Katie Porter That's Mrs. Doubtfire on steroids with road rage. I mean, Katie Porter is not the one. But so it can't be Katie Porter. It can't be Gavin Newsom because it's his message. It has to be Barack Obama. He's the most talented politician ever since Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's lost his fastball. He used to be our explainer-in-chief. We all fell in love with Barack Obama for a reason. He was kind of what your dad was before your dad was. Those generational people that just come along. And if you're going to make the case, if you're going to win the World Series, you got to go with the guy who's got the best fastball on the team, and that is still Barack Hussein Obama.
So wait, what does that mean for where the Democrats are heading into the presidential cycle? If this is the only guy, do you think other people emerge? Does he have to anoint someone? Is it a battle to be like Obama? What do you think happens?
Well, everybody wants to emerge, and the presidential election is not the next election. What the Democrats are most worried about, midterms. It's all midterms. The person I talked to says they're going to win big. And so they're riding on all the midterms. What we're doing right now in America, Chris, we've been gerrymandering congressional districts, and now we've decided to gerrymander entire states, which plays well for the Republicans because if you look at the electoral map, that game works better for Republicans. So the Democrats better be careful about that. But if I had to have one messenger, and I could only have one, it's Barack Obama every single day. Look, I think Hakeem Jeffries has real talent. I think he could be great. He doesn't have the gravitas yet, but I think he could. I'm impressed by him. But other than him, there's really nobody else. And the rest of them are out there kind of auditioning for president, which kind of takes away their message. This is about the midterms. This is not about the presidential election. This is about a check on power. This is about checks and balances, and that's what the midterms will all be about for the Democrats.
That's a really interesting take. I mean, on gerrymandering, do you think it's even worth going at the American people about this, about needing it to change, or is it not something that they feel enough in everyday life for it to become a visceral issue?
If you ask 100 Americans what gerrymandering is, maybe one would get it right. I'm sorry to say. They have no effing clue what gerrymandering is. They think it's something with sheep. But they have no idea what gerrymandering is. And so you can't explain it to them. Right now in America, here's what goes on. We don't care if we cheat, we just want to win. It doesn't matter if you really lost as long as you really win. And that's where we are in American politics. And it's sad, but look, those California districts have got to be switched to fight back the Missouris and all that. That's what Obama's about. Obama's a California cool guy. One time a guy said to me, there's not enough O's in smooth to describe Barack Obama. And there are not enough O's in smooth to describe Barack Obama. And that's why we all love him. And that's why he came to my house for dinner. And that's why I raised money. And that's why he was a two-term president. You look, you go pitch in the World Series, you bring Sandy Koufax in, even if it's been a long time since Handy Sandy pitched.
I've never seen a hate parade break down faster than when it's about Obama. When I hear people and they're like, oh, Obama, he was the worst. Really? Why? The conversation gets so short so fast, and they almost always pivot to his wife and some kind of BS conspiracy theory. He is a very
he's going to get a divorce.
Yeah, very talented guy. Very talented guy. Has a lot of currency with the American people.
Your dad, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, in my lifetime, and John F. Kennedy. That's the Mount Rushmore for the Democrats.
Well, listen, they're going to have to add some more heads because they got to figure out their leadership. They're in the battle of our generation right now in terms of where this country's going to go. We got big problems. That's why I need you to keep coming on and talking to the American people about how things are landing and what you're hearing. John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, your success is deserved because you're a great advocate.
See ya.
Brother, be well. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
4 minutes and 15 seconds. Coming up, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is playing games, kind of being a punk, telling the media you have to pledge to these new rules that are like you can't say anything if I think it's a problem. It's like, where do you think we are? Pakistan, brother? Even Newsmax doesn't want to sign on to this BS. The question is, why are we here and why do they think this is a good look? I want to discuss with a true journalist with a big J. Next.
You have to wear a badge that identifies that you're press, or you can't just roam anywhere you want. It used to be, Mr. President, the press could go anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the Pentagon, the most classified area in the world. Or also that if they sign on to the credentialing, they're not going to try to get soldiers to break the law by giving them classified information. So it's common sense stuff, Mr. President. Which
It's not common sense, and that's not what he's doing. I don't get it. I mean, I don't know how this helps anything for the Trump administration. That's Pete Hegseth. I mean, you know what he is, right? He's there for one reason, and he's defending the deadline that he's put forth to the press. If they don't sign a pledge, because we are the agents of your ability to question power, right? Some of us do it well, some of us don't do it well, all of us need to do it better, all right? But if we don't sign this pledge at the end of today, which forces them to get permission from the Pentagon for some of their reporting, they could have their press credentials pulled immediately. So you got the Times, the Post, oh, that's the MSN, but yeah, okay. The Atlantic, but so are conservative organizations. I don't know why my team thought we didn't need to name any of them, but there we go. So, well, no, the only media outlet to sign the letter so far is OAN, which is, just a mouthpiece for Trump anyway. Let's not forget, Hegseth was a member of the media, even if it was just a firebrand, pundit. He wasn't a journalist. But let's discuss what this is really about. New York Times reporter, author of Devil's Advocates. This is a great book, okay? The hidden story about Rudy, Hunter, the Washington insiders on the payrolls of corrupt foreign interests. Ken does a really good job of what's really hard in journalism. He takes a story that you knew and decided to move on from and looked at it with a critical eye to help you see everything that you missed the first time through. Really good read. Ken, nice to have you.
Thanks for having me, Chris, and thanks for the kind words.
No, just the truth. So, Ken, look, we know the rules, right? We all know what the Pentagon Papers are about, and we know that there are certain standards and times that you have to deal with the military about your reporting. But what is this about?
Yeah, I mean, just reiterating what the Times has said on this, we're not going to sign it, and this is a federal agency that's funded with $1 trillion of taxpayer money. So, needless to say, we think that the public has a right to know what's going on at the Pentagon, and what's going on is not always necessarily just what the government wants to tell you. If you just reported that, you would essentially be doing their PR, and that's not what we're in the business of doing.
Right. Moyers said news is what the powerful don't want you to share. Everything else is just advertising. So how does this move insinuate itself into the narrative that you capture in your book?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is it's, the effort to control the press is something that we often see with regimes in the third world or the developing world or the former communist world. And so there's this mindset that I think plays out in my book. In order to get what you want from government, you essentially pay people close to the government. And so in the U.S., we think, no, that's not the way it works here. We have all these ethics rules and campaign finance rules and disclosure rules that prevent that kind of thing from happening. But what I found in reporting my book is that this mindset, this sort of oligarchic, post-Soviet mindset, actually creates a scenario where there are these foreign interests that pay well-connected Americans to try to get what they want from Washington because it's an approach that works for them in their home countries. And I found that there were more than the sort of fair share of well-connected Americans who are willing to take that money.
Do you believe it's getting better or it's always been this way? Or worse?
I think there's always been an element of it, Chris, but I do think that under the Trump administration, because of the openly transactional approach that Trump has taken to really all policy, but particularly foreign policy, it has kind of opened the floodgates a little bit in a way that some of these deep-pocketed foreign interests believe like there's a real opportunity. If you were on kind of the bad list of Washington for many years, there's an opportunity now under Trump. If you have the right people in your corner, these are folks who are close to Trump, and if you pay them enough money to get off of that bad list and retain and sort of resuscitate your relationship with the United States in a way that allows you to reap, U.S. funding, U.S. assistance, or at least stay out of the target, out of the crosshairs for sanctions and other repercussions for bad behavior.
Ken, it is an interesting read because those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Ken Vogel, thank you very much. Good luck with the book, Devil's Advocates. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Chris.
So yeah, the big town hall is tomorrow night. Why do I say that? Because it's at the Kennedy Center. And I think we're coming close to packing it. And I think that's because desperate people want desperate measures. And we're going to come together to discuss what's happening in this country. And I believe conversation is the cure. And yeah, I know CNN wound up planning one that starts like halfway through mine, but they're only talking to one side, and they're talking to radicals. They're talking to Bernie Sanders and AOC. I mean, how are you supposed to create consensus that way? How are you supposed to reconnect with what the majority in this country really wants? That's what we're doing. Stephen A. Smith, Bill O'Reilly, you got balance. Tom Homan, Senator Joe Manchin, Senator John Fetterman, who literally just signed on because he wants to be part of it. Jordan, Kana, both sides, podcasters from both sides. Adam Mockler, TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Colvette. Everybody's going to be there. You will too, I hope. I'll see you. Leland Vittert picks up right now.